This is AIM Agenda. Thanks for your company. With me now, the Labor frontbencher Jason Clare, a former Home Affairs Minister, worked very closely with the Federal Police over a number of years. What's your reaction to this incident in Melbourne last night?
Well, I think the events of the last few days have shown that ISIL can be a lightning rod, that what's happening overseas on the other side of the world, the mess in Mesopotamia, has the potential to poison the minds of people here in Australia to do the most terrible things. It also shows us how dangerous the work our police do is, but importantly it also shows that they're up to the job, and the work that our federal police, state police and national security agencies have done over the last few days and weeks should fill the community with confidence that they've got the skills and the capability to do the job. And
of course our thoughts go out to both of the officers recovering
and their families who would be huddled around them in hospital now, very worried about their safety but also their condition.
What do you say to the suggestion from some critics of the military deployment, like the Greens, for example, who believe that this deployment of our troops has made us a bigger target?
Well, if you follow that argument, you do nothing. And that means that the people on Mount Sinjar die. That means that they're all slaughtered by ISIL. It means that the Kurds trying to flee Iraq or Syria into Turkey that don't make it are slaughtered. You follow that argument, more people die. But it also means that ISIL becomes a stronger, bigger organisation that becomes a bigger threat to the countries of the region and a bigger threat to the whole world. And that's the flaw in that argument.
You're a member of Parliament that represents an electorate with one of the biggest Islamic populations. What's the reaction been to the raids of the last week or so, and the greater security, the terror upgrade lift? I know one of the prime suspects, the one that's been charged, was in your electorate.
Guildford, yeah. I think first there's a feeling of relief that this alleged plot has been nipped in the bud, but there's also a feeling of isolation. People are angry that their religion has been hijacked by extremists overseas. There's a sense of frustration that people have to keep telling everybody that they're loyal to Australia, and there's a worry that they'll be targeted because of the actions of a few. I've got a good mate of mine called Ama. His son came home from school the other day on Friday. Now this is a young boy, 11 years old. His biggest issue up until now has been whether he cheers on the Eels or the Bulldogs. He came home Friday and said to his dad, "Dad, why does everybody hate us?" Now I worry about that, because if people feel like they don't belong, if they feel isolated, then that's when organisations like ISIL and their rancid ideology has the potential to poison the minds of people in Australia to do terrible things.
So what needs to be done by government, by representatives in this Parliament, in terms of keep bringing the community with
I think the key point here is it's bigger than just government. It's bigger than just laws or what our law enforcement agencies do. It needs the help of community leaders and religious leaders, but it's more than that. It's parents, it's teachers, it's doctors, it's youth workers, and it's the whole community creating an environment where everybody feels like they belong.
How widespread? I know it's a very difficult thing to respond to, but I guess the question is that many Australians would be wondering now is how widespread is the sympathy for the group Islamic State within the Australian community?
You're talking about a tiny, tiny group of people, but a small group of people that can do terrible harm to the Australian community. And that's why the work that our law enforcement agencies do is so important, why it's important they've got the right powers and the right resources to do their job. But the overwhelming majority of the Muslim community in Australia are good, honest, hard-working people that are as horrified with what they're reading in the newspapers and seeing on their TV as you and I are, and they want to make sure that action is taken by our government, by our community leaders, by all of us to make sure that our communities are safe.
Do you think there's enough cooperation and consultation happening in terms of the greater security powers, the counter-terrorism legislation, to ensure that the community leaders are comfortable with it so that then they can come with the government on it?
Yeah, some's happened, more needs to be done. Mark Dreyfus made the point today that there needs to be proper consultation on this legislation. I think that's right. There's been some done already, but not enough, and that needs to be consultation not just with the Muslim community, but with the whole Australian community to make sure that whatever laws we put in place are the right laws and that they work.
And Jason Clare, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Kieran.